Before we get started, we are practicing social distancing. We're more than 6 feet apart. In Luke Air Force Base, the U.S. Air Force, along with the City of Glendale, we take the mask very seriously, but we do have the space. So, General, if it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and remove my mask so people can hear us a little bit more clearly. With that, first of all, I want to welcome everybody. I'm Jerry Wires. I'm the mayor of the City of Glendale. And as mayor, I'm extremely proud to have Luke Air Force Base in Glendale. Today I have the honor and the privilege to be joined by Brigadier General. Okay, now let's stop right there for a second. Pronounce your last name for me, and then if you would, I know that you also have a call sign. Tell me about your call sign.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So it's great to be with you here today.
How about call me Jerry?
That's going to be a tough one for me, Mr. Mayor. So, sir, my last name is pronounced Kreuder, and I think you already know that my call sign makes that difficult to pronounce. So in the Air Force, we've got decades of tradition where you get a tactical call sign. And pretty much when you're new to a unit or new to an aircraft, you'll typically have the members of that unit figure out what your call sign is going to be. So the one real rule is you don't get to make your own call sign. It's chosen for you. And a lot of times it's based off of something that you might have done, flying in the air or on the ground, that's memorable, I would say, and maybe not something you're necessarily proud of. And sometimes it's a play on your last name. And so when I was actually at Luke Air Force Base in 1997, flying with the 61st Top Dog, learning how to fly the F-16 for the first time, they gave me the call sign Freddie. And I go, okay, I think I get it, play on my last name, because if you take my name, it sounds a lot like Kruger, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. And so I thought, like, hey, I got off easy. Cool, play on my last name. Joke was on me. I don't think there's many people in the Air Force that can pronounce my last name as it was kind of intended. So I'm thinking of changing it to Smith or Johnson or something just to make it easier on everybody.
Well, it's a great story, and as many of you know, Luke Air Force Base is home to the 56th Fighter Wing and the Air Force's primary active duty fighter pilot training wing. As part of the Air Education and Training Command and home to 24 squadrons, both F-35A Lightning II and the F-16 Fighting Falcon aircraft, the 56th Fighter Wing graduates more than 400 pilots and 300 air control professionals annually. That's a lot. This military installation is without a doubt valued by all in the West Valley. And as mayor, one of my primary goals is to ensure that Luke Air Force Base has the resources and support it needs to remain viable for decades to come. In order for this to happen, Glendale and Luke Air Force Base work closely together on targeted growth management plan. As the city approves new economic development surrounding the base, General, I'd like to provide you an opportunity to tell us about Luke Air Force Base from the eyes of its general.
Mayor, first off, thank you again for the opportunity to have this conversation with you today. We are very fortunate to have such a great neighbor as yourself in the city of Glendale. Luke Air Force Base has been training fighter pilots continuously since 1941, and it's a testament to our special relationship that we still do so today. Our mission to train the world's greatest fighter pilots and combat-ready airmen is vital to our national defense. Luke is just as important today as when it was activated during World War II. In 2012, the Department of Defense designated Luke as the future home for 144 new F-35A Lightning II fighter aircraft. The first one arrived in March 2014, and now you can see them flying around Luke all the time. As our mission at Luke expands to full operational capability in about the next 6 years, our number of base personnel will likewise grow.
For over 40 years, Glendale has worked with Luke Air Force Base, our West Valley neighbors, the state legislature and Congress to protect the base from surrounding development. We've refined and implemented a targeted plan for development around the base to avoid any conflict with flight operations. This plan also allows the city to maintain our commitment to pursue strong job growth within our municipal boundaries. Back in 1977, Glendale annexed a 10-foot wide strip around the base to protect it from encroachment. Even though development was out of reach, this sent a strong message that in order to build anywhere around the base, you needed to first come through Glendale. In 1995, Glendale completed the annexation for Luke Air Force Base, which further protected the base from encroachment development.
Thank you, Mayor. This really highlights how great of a neighbor Glendale is to Luke Air Force Base. When the city annexed Luke, it set the framework and tone for all to work together, avoid encroachment, and ultimately ensure our mission could continue. Ultimately, the landowners surrounding Luke Air Force Base, the City of Glendale, Maricopa County, and the state of Arizona have all made substantial strides in strengthening the long-term sustainability of the base. These efforts are a model across our country as other states are trying to achieve similar military protections to those Luke enjoys by being a part of the City of Glendale. In 2001, the state of Arizona incorporated these military protections into state law to safeguard Luke's flying operations as well as provide safety and protections for our local citizens. These statutes adopted our noise contours, which were developed and recognized by the County Regional Planning Agency and surrounding municipalities. These contours helped to identify compatible land development opportunities surrounding military installations within the state. They also incorporated sound attenuation standards and building codes, for example, ensuring a maximum indoor noise level of 45 decibels. This brings me to the heart of what makes this all work for Luke Air Force Base, and that is our Community Initiatives team. This team was developed 18 years ago and is critical to our mission sustainment. We have civilian staff and an environmental law attorney devoted to working with Glendale and other cities throughout the West Valley to help manage the rapid growth we are experiencing and strive for land developments compatible with Luke's mission. We do this through ongoing relationship with elected officials, city staff, civic leaders, and particularly through partnering with local planning and zoning and economic development departments. Our team is in constant contact with the municipalities and holds numerous meetings throughout the year to synchronize our collective efforts. We review and evaluate development actions around the base for compatibility with state laws and our flying operations. We look for potential height obstructions near the airfield or things that could impair a pilot's vision like smoke or dust or could cause glare. We are grateful that land developers and your city staff are in constant contact with our Community Initiatives team to ensure growth is compatible with Luke's mission early in the process. This saves time and money and makes it a win-win for all of us.
Thank you, General. We are excited to have Randy Huggins from Glendale's own Office of Economic Development. He's here to explain to all of us the tremendous growth happening around Luke Air Force Base. Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. Since kicking off development in this area in 2018, we have substantially exceeded our growth targets. With private capital investment in infrastructure and new buildings now in the billions of dollars. We have over 5 million square feet in construction and another 5 million square feet planned to begin construction in the next 12 to 24 months. This represents thousands of new jobs. The average wage is over $50,000 per employee for facilities currently under construction with end users. Those are companies that have chosen to grow with Glendale. As much as this would appear to be an overnight success, it is actually the culmination of decades of work. As mentioned, protecting Luke's mission is a collective effort. The City of Glendale works diligently along with our neighboring cities, utilities, landowners, and other stakeholders to protect and preserve Luke's mission in the future. There are 9 layers of protection and collaboration between Luke Air Force Base and the City of Glendale that span decades in the past and into the future. The first layer is the development of the city's general plan, which is how cities plan the overall layout and uses allowed throughout the city over the long term. Luke is the most significant stakeholder in the Loop 303 area, and their participation has been critical in proper planning to prevent future hurdles. The second layer is the state law that regulates allowable uses within proximity to Luke, which provides a great base document for development. The city's general plan designation surrounding the base is called Luke Compatible Land Use Area. The third layer comes with new annexations of property into the city. At this point, we share info with Luke so that they know what to expect and can plan appropriately. The fourth layer is the zoning process. When a landowner requests to change their property zoning, we work with the landowner and Luke to again confirm the zoning requested is consistent with the laws, mission, and goals for the area. The fifth layer, we also attend the quarterly Luke Air Force Base planning meeting, where the city planners from surrounding jurisdictions, the utilities, and transportation agencies share information on future plans and collaborations. The sixth layer, when a developer submits a concept for a building, also known as the design review process, the city again coordinates with Luke to ensure alignment with our previously established common goals. The seventh layer is the 7460 FAA application, which we remind developers to submit. Once the FAA receives the application, they send info to the surrounding airports, including Luke, for comments and concerns. The eighth is when the developer actually submits the construction documents for the building. In this process, we verify that what is being submitted is in concert with all of the decades of teamwork and effort shared above. The ninth layer is the greater community of cities, stakeholders, landowners, and utilities that throughout their daily processes are ever vigilant in protecting the mission of Luke Air Force Base. This map illustrates the noise contour lines, which provide the outline of the state law that limits use inside the contours to uses that are compatible with Luke Air Force Base, including agriculture, infrastructure, commercial, and industrial uses. This map illustrates a half dozen properties we met with in early 2018 that had some interest in development. The large highlighted section in the northeast was not planning for vertical construction or buildings, but planning underground infrastructure including sewer lines to serve the surrounding communities. The next map is an update from May of 2019, 1 year later, showing miles of new water and sewer infrastructure. It also shows an increase from 6 to 23 projects in some stage of development and planning. You will notice that new development forms along parcels that have utility infrastructure, all of which was built and paid for by private investment from landowners and developers in the area, which will benefit the entire region. The final map is an update a year and a half later at the end of 2020. The red circles illustrate 9 mega buildings under construction, half of which are being constructed for specific end users, again companies that have chosen to grow in Glendale. The red squares are locations of buildings in some stage of review for construction. The green arrows, potential projects in the next 12 to 24 months, and red arrows, potential annexations in the pipeline. One final note, every once in a while a concept gets floated that could work within the bounds of the state law but does not fit within the goals of the greater region. We work with those developers to modify the concept so the project better fits in the big picture to protect Luke's mission and property values into the future. Chris Toll, Reggie Christensen, Mark James, and previously Rusty Mitchell have been an amazing team to work with. Their professionalism, skill sets, and ability to communicate are sincerely top-notch. If you want to follow new development in Glendale, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at @GrowGlendale. Back to you, Mayor.
All right, Randy, that's great news. Thank you. General?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a great segue to discuss our current and future mission expansion at Luke. Through a government grant, the Maricopa Association of Governments prepared a great tool that can be found on our public website called the Luke Air Force Base Targeted Growth Management Plan. It predicts the growth in base population and associated opportunities in 4 key areas: education, workforce and economic development, housing, and transportation. It then predicts future needs associated with the larger military and veteran population and develops short and long-term priorities and potential funding sources to accommodate this growth. This tool will also be helpful to our airmen as they move to Luke Air Force Base.
Okay, we've now discussed attracting new businesses to our city, and one of the key factors for recruiting new businesses is available workforce. And for generations, one workforce has been consistently overlooked, which is our military spouses. I served in the Arizona legislature, and one of the things that we fought for was trying to figure out what we could do to help our military. In 2019, Arizona became the first state to recognize out-of-state occupational licenses. It's an important shift because licensing can be burdensome and costly process, and moving to a new state usually means starting the whole process all over. Now when the Air Force actually transfers people to Luke Air Force Base, spouses can get their occupational license transferred over with them with an easy state registration process. Now, while this is a tremendous asset to business recruiting, I'm also sure it's a huge benefit to retaining military personnel. General?
I fully agree, Mayor. We can never do enough to take care of our military spouses. This was also a main topic of interest to our Secretary of the Air Force, Barbara Barrett, and Second Lady of the United States, Mrs. Karen Pence, when they visited Luke Air Force Base in 2020. Even though Luke's total economic impact in the state of Arizona is about $2.4 billion annually, our spouses often have trouble transferring their occupational licenses from one state to another. In 2019, the West Valley Partners worked closely with our elected state leaders to make Arizona the first to recognize out-of-state occupational licenses across the board. This legislation allows someone who holds an occupational license in another state for at least 1 year to practice their profession in Arizona right when they get here without having to go through relicensing. We also understand the state of Arizona is considering a bill to eliminate the initial military spouse professional license fees. These changes are really important as they both support our military spouses and families at Luke Air Force Base and helps our Air Force with retention.
If I could, I'd like to now shift our discussion to public-private partnerships. In 2015, I believe the Air Force recognized the need for military installations to work with local communities to to improve and strengthen community and Air Force partnerships. So they established an Air Force Community Partnership Program to find ways for us to collaborate, to save money, and to be more efficient, such as reducing operating and service costs. This program makes sure that we both achieve our economic goals and interests. Back in 2016, Luke Air Force Base partnered with the City of Glendale for the collection, transportation, and disposal of solid waste and recyclable materials. We understand that this has been a tremendous success for Luke.
Yes, Mayor. Our refuse collection agreement has benefited Luke, which is why we want to see the partnership contract continue forward after the current expiration date. We are preparing for an extension to that agreement right now. This year, we will enter into an intergovernment agreement for Glendale to receive and treat Luke's wastewater once the infrastructure is built. The Luke wastewater treatment plant located at Glendale Avenue and El Mirage Road was built back in 1942 and treats approximately 500 to 700,000 gallons of wastewater daily. It serves 9,300 direct beneficiaries. Although it has been repaired several times, it has reached the end of its operational life. The Air Force has generally gotten out of the wastewater treatment business, and this makes it a perfect time to do so locally. We therefore turn to Glendale to find a way to transition those services over to your city. The project will connect the base's wastewater collection system to yours and allow us to close the plant, ensuring reliable treatment services for Luke. In addition, this project provides military value by saving about $10 million it would have cost to repair the existing treatment plant. We could not have secured these services as quickly or economically without our partnership with Glendale.
City leadership, residents, and businesses want Luke Air Force Base to remain in Glendale for a very long time. I want my grandkids to enjoy the freedoms, the opportunities this base provides for our country, our state, and our city. As a former legislator, as the mayor of the city of Glendale, as a citizen of this city, you always have my support and total commitment to preserving the base's mission.
Thank you again, Mayor, for allowing me this time to discuss our relationship with you and the city of Glendale. I believe we are great neighbors, and we plan to keep it that way for a long, long time.
General, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that this answered some of your questions that you've had about our partnership. I welcome you here. The biggest thing that I dislike about the Air Force and the way they do it is every time that we get a new general in, I learn the new general coming in, make good friends, and they disappear. And so I'm very, very glad that you're here. I look forward to a great partnership, and thank you so much for your service to our country, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
I want to thank all the people watching this today for joining us today and for your support on Luke Air Force Base. Thank you.